Ricki, how's it going?
Aaron, what's happening?
I've got the tilting gimbal on again for one person. I'm not 100% sure it's going to hold up the challenge. It's already cut my head off here. First off, like, it feels a bit weird us like doing this way because the camper van was way more cracked, right?
Yeah, and I honestly can't believe that was a week ago, man. It's insane. It feels like it was yesterday, the day before. It's a full week since we were in the back of your camper van with the crazy gimbal. I can't believe it.
And 12 hours prior to the start of the race because it's 7 o'clock now and our race started at 7:30. So yeah, the show must go on, and we pack a lot into the weeks. But yeah, here we are. And thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Aaron Shipmans. This is is it?
Ricki Wynne, Ricki Wynne. I thought you were going to say it.
And this is Trail Talk Live. We're with you every Friday night, catching up on the latest news in the world of ultra trail. And also, we got to deal with some questions that have come in about Dartmoor race last week. So we got a couple of them. And we'll crack into Transgrancanaria first off. But before we do that, we've got to thank our sponsors, xmiles.co.uk. We appreciate you using the discount code IRunOverMountains over on that website and getting a nice discount on your nutrition order. They serve and stock everything, so definitely check them out. Link in the bio, link in the Trail Talk WhatsApp. Google it. You don't need me to tell you how to get there. xmiles.co.uk for all the nutrition stuff. Ricki, let's crack on. Transgrancanaria. Let's start with the classic. Caleb Olsen, John Albon, Josh Wade. Caleb Olsen smashed it.
Yeah, incredible race, and it's the race we've been waiting for. It's kind of like he's kind of been the almost guy, almost, and this race just proved that he's ready to take off. I think this is a race that's just going to catapult him now, and he's going to go on to have a seriously strong season.
Yeah, I think the telltale signs were there that he could do amazing stuff after Ultra Cape Town last year. And I think now this says to me that he's destined for greatness. I think, we would all pretty much say that John Albon is near enough like the best. Like there's no one better than him on his day, on his, below like in around the 80, 100K distance. This is obviously a little bit more than that, but he's bridging it up as he looks to tackle the UTMB this summer. So for him to just go out there and have a day like that, and we've heard lots of stuff, people talking about saying that he is really strong, really good, and it's just a matter of time. So I think like Caleb, like he could be a real threat at some of the big races here.
Yeah. And like you said, like it wasn't like it wasn't stacked. That race was stacked, you know what I mean? And you're dealing with John Albon. Like, I don't think there's too many people that are listening to us right now that didn't back John Albon to win that race, So that's the pedigree of the man. That's the animal that he is. And Caleb Olsen would have had to have had a day to have beaten John, and that's exactly what he went and he done, and he had a huge day.
Yeah, and I think that's what he said as well, that he doesn't think anyone could beat him whenever he had a day like that, and also that he didn't hold back. He ran it strong from the start. So I definitely recommend, if anyone that hasn't listened, check out the interview with Ben on Single Track. Then a couple of other things about the men's race and the classic. I did hear John Albon say, "Look, I had a little bit of a stomach issue, and not a major one, but what it did mean was, yourself, you've got like the funny tummy. What do? You don't put anything into it for a while, and then that sorts your stomach out, but you then have like an energy dip." So he went through that energy dip. He says it wasn't nothing major, but I wasn't able to go as hard as I'd want to have gone. So that, what did he win by? 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So it could have been closer. And then Josh Wade, a further, 15 minutes back on John. Again, breakthrough performance, I think. Like Josh has been, we had a chat about Josh on the Friday night and about the other British sort of hopefuls in the field. And I think basically Josh had the best result that was going, to be like second Brit, but only 15 minutes behind John Albon, who is tried and tested, top tier, and it only does good for Josh.
And I love the way that Josh took on that race. You know what I mean? He took it on hard from the get-go. I think he was leading for a lot of that race, so he was, which goes to show that he's beginning to really believe in himself against some of these other big runners, and that he's probably saying, kind of like Caleb Olsen, that it's my time now. It's my time to show you what I can do. Like, so, yeah, huge result for him. But no, it didn't surprise us. You know what I mean? We were definitely talking about him. Definitely inside in the top 5. I'm not sure that I have him in 5th in my fantasy free trail, but I definitely had him in the top 5.
Yeah, I had Josh in 5th. And if you think about some of the people that dropped out, I think top 5 would have happened regardless, but he ended up getting 3rd because of, other circumstances, but also he was up there.
Yeah.
The time is the time.
Yeah.
Regardless of the position. So, well done to Josh Wade. And I think you already know this as well. I'm actually interviewing him on Monday, I think it is. So we'll have that out next week. Looking forward to it. Like I've been chatting away to it with him on WhatsApp, and the guy is actually a bit of crack.
Yeah.
And the hair, and he looks like, it's like Liam Gallagher in Ultra Trail. So I'm here for it, and looking forward to that interview. Let's touch on the women's race because we've got a lot to get through, and Trail Talk Live, it's 30 minutes on a Friday night. Catch up on all the podcast players and YouTube from tomorrow morning. But we got to crack on with the agenda. And Henrietta Albon, John's wife, wow, knocked it out of the park, big time. Like her biggest victory to date. In fact, I don't even know another race that she's won. She's always been in like that top 5, but never been on the top step. And she won it by nearly an hour.
Yeah. She was so fast, and like overall she was so fast. You know what I mean? She was 20 minutes ahead of some of the top men. You know what I mean? She was incredibly quick. And I have to say that I had her in the number 1 spot. I picked her in the number 1 spot. That is not intelligence by any means on my part. That's sheer luck. It's me just kind of saying, I think she could have a day. And she did have a day. And I'm so happy for her. And then it's just a shame that John didn't get to come first as well. And then it'd be, you know what I mean? It'd be a family 1-on-1 like that. That'd be pretty incredible, That would have been some result for the two of them.
I'm just laughing at the fact that you picked her for first because you will be the first to admit you're absolutely pure shit at fantasy free trail. Like that's almost like a stud. You're never going to win a race. But you picked her in first and she won the race. So maybe you're on to something.
Everybody can have a day. Everybody can have a day.
And we'll remember that race this time next year because it went down on the same day as our race. So Henrietta's first major win happened on the day that you won in Dartmoor as well. So we'll come to that later on. Who was second? Claudia Tremps, and then a Slovenian woman, not even mention her name. She was a little bit back. Doesn't really matter. Henrietta Albon's free agent. She didn't renew or wasn't given the option to renew. So she's free agent. But I think the big win here is Albon app sales. Like you look at John Albon, and I think he's that good. You don't really go, oh, you know what? I got to sign up for Albon app because that's why he's so good. But whenever Henrietta then wins and crushes it, I think she's like a poster board for consistent training over years, trusting the process, putting in the work, and she's also good to listen to. And she's more and more documenting the story. And again, they've got a podcast as well. So I think Albon app will do well out of this. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. And I also think that I also think that she's a free agent now, but I don't think she's a free agent. I think the North Face are going to snap her up, man. It's going to be her and John, the North Face, his and hers. I think that's what's going to happen. That's definitely going to happen. And then coming in with the Albon app, yeah, already a massive start to the year for the Albans.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, I think John actually has just joined the chat. He posted it in the Trail Talk WhatsApp earlier today about the infographics we get about the shoes that were used during the race. And Henrietta was wearing the Bike Vective Pro 1, and John was wearing the 3s, and Josh was wearing the 2s. So it's like all of or I think that's the right number, but all of the shoes were represented on the podium. So I think if she was even in talks with TNF about a pro contract, they would have she would be running in the latest shoe, or a better shoe, a more up to date shoe. But anyway, we can speculate all we want, but she can't be a free agent for long, right?
No, not with a result like that. No way, no way. Like that's huge race, massively impressive time, smashed the competition, blew them out of the park. She won't be a free agent for by the show next week. We'll be talking about who our next sponsor is. That's a fact.
hot take from Ricki Wynne. And thanks to everyone that's joining. This is Trail Talk Live. 30 minutes on a Friday night with my dodgy gimbal here. It's not tracking me very well. Catch up on the show tomorrow, Spotify, and all the other players, including YouTube. Ricki, onto the marathon. Jennifer Lichter, 3:59. Sylvia Nordstar kept her honest, 4:07. But I think I watched the marathon to check out the quality of the live stream a few days ago when I was on the indoor bike, and the live stream was good, but Jennifer Lichter is like the young female Zach Miller, like full gas. She's always hammering, and I fucking love that.
I'm just laughing to myself because for anyone that doesn't know, Aaron is a perfectionist and he sends me show notes. And in the show notes, he had beside Jennifer's name, Hulk Smash. And I was like going, what is that in reference to? But of course, I understand what you mean. It's that she is full gas. I mean, the girl just goes out hard and races on the limit, Zach Miller style, like you said, So definitely Jennifer Hulk Smash.
There we go.
She's incredible. She's incredible.
But I've tidied up those notes since the final issue. That was the early draft, but I just typed in Hulk Smash. I didn't want to forget. I think I may have been on the bike at the time, so I was just like one finger typing Jennifer Lichter Hulk Smash. And then on the men's side, I think the takeaway here is that Francesco Puppi on the winning the race in the last half kilometer, basically, or passing for the lead in the last half a kilometer. And if you watch the end of that race, like you can take the mic in a second, but see at the end of the race, he was just like walking around the finish line holding an empty bottle, holding an empty soft flask upside down, like, anyone give me water, give me water. It's the funniest thing ever. Like, just go back and watch the finish just to see Francesco Puppi dehydrate live on the screen. What did you think of that finish?
A crazy finish, kind of like a golden trail finish, if you know what I mean. That sort of drama, that sort of like, holy shit, he's going to catch him. He's caught him. You know what I mean? He's reeled him in. And within I think there was like 80 yards or something like that left to the finish, and he passed him. That's exactly what we want to see. That's the kind of racing we want to see. It's like all guns blazing, and then he just sailed by him. Like, your man was goosed, he was tanked, he was blowing up, and Francesco finished in super strong, which was great because it's Francesco's first race as a Hoka athlete. So I mean, he started off his new career with Hoka with a bang.
Yeah, he sure did. Other news about TGC. This is really annoying me, this gimbal. Finn Melanson of single track, we were sort of expecting at least a finish, but he didn't finish. he dropped out. He was in 20-something place at the time. Now, I listened to his podcast with Caleb Olson, and Caleb turned the mic on him at the end and gave him the opportunity to say something. Because, like, you know yourself, Ricki, you're putting stuff out there. People are following. You're not putting it out there into thin air. Like, people want to know what you're up to and stuff. So, as followers of that show as well, I wanted to know what went wrong. We're not looking the nitty gritty. We're not looking to know the nuts and bolts of how many times it stopped with shit, but give us a lot. Was it stomach? Was it whatever? So I thought it was felt unnatural that he just said, "Oh, I don't know what happened. It just like all started to go wrong for me as early as 7 miles in." And I've chatted away to Finn, and I asked him like, "What exactly was it?" Like he didn't say anything. Was it stomach? Was it head? Was it head? Because there's these are like all of the things that can go wrong. And he's just like, "I don't know, man.
Yeah.
How do you not know?"
Yeah, really strange because, like, look, I think he just went out too hard and he blew up, and then that was it. But I mean, surely if that happened, you'd know that happened, and you'd be able to tell people that's what happened. But he's not saying that. So he's saying he doesn't know what happened. Look, I feel bad for the guy. He put a big trainer block in. He put a big effort
Put it
in.
out there.
Yeah, he put it out there, and that's the thing too. Like, if you are going to do all that and you're going to put it out there and you're going to say, I want to have a good result, you're making great content, you're making great videos. If it doesn't go to plan and it doesn't go well, still keep putting it out. You have to man up and you have to tell people, look, this is what happened. It didn't go well, but it's okay. Like, you can do that. Like, we're all human beings. None of us have the perfect day. Like, but just do the same. Just because stuff goes well doesn't mean that's the only stuff you post. If stuff goes shit, post that too. Tell us about that, because people want to know about the shit ones.
Pat says he did not Finn-ish. I totally agree with you, mate. Like,
Yeah.
put it out there, but also complete the story, good, bad, or indifferent. Don't we're it happens to all of us, and we would only be there to offer support and better luck next time or whatever. Like, we've all gone out too hard, we've all made a mistake, or with the gut, with the head, whatever. So yeah, time will tell.
Yeah, yeah. And more often than not, when you do put it out there, you know what I mean. We're all learning. Like I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Killian or you're Finn. If you will make mistakes and you will learn from it. And the only way you learn from it is by putting it out there. Maybe somebody coming in and offering a bit of advice or something like that, and that's it. That's how we learn. That's how you adapt, and that's how you grow as an athlete.
Yeah, totally. Couple other things. Last thing on TGC, actually, shout out to Sam K in the TORQ community. Gutted it out after taking on some dodgy water or something, and it's never fun out there making your way around the course with the runs, as they say, and also Rosie in the marathon, the 47K marathon. If that makes sense. um, she got to finish there as well. So well done to those two. There are others as well. I can't even remember some of the names, but it's always great to see people sharing that. I'm going to skip over the next topic and we're going to come back to that because I want to tackle some of the questions that people submitted about the Dartmoor race. Basically a debrief for us on some of these things. And I'm going to kick it off with some questions for you. Then there's a few for both of us, and then there's one that's specifically for me about some gear. But like, one of the questions that people were asking was, how did you feel with going into this race, the first race as a pro? Like, was there extra pressure? Did you feel did you feel different at all?
I suppose if I was truly honest, then yeah, I'd say I probably felt a little bit different, but not a lot, like just a little bit. Like, I would still always put a certain amount of pressure on myself, and I'd always want to get a certain result or have a certain kind of a race. But then and especially during the race, when there was moments where I felt like I can't keep pushing this hard. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing that. Then those moments of like, Rick, you just signed a pro contract. You got to fight for this. You got to fight for this. So even though there's pressure from that, there's also extra motivation from something like that as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Coming in, I'm reading these because they're not my questions. Come and join first. Was it discussed late in the race or an unspoken agreement? And let me just maybe just add some context to that for everyone. So you finished first, but you tied at 4 hours 21 with another guy, an American runner. And give us we do have a question about the story about the race, and that's coming next. So why don't you just let's talk about the race, how it unfolded with Paul, and then how did those last couple of Ks come down? Like, what was the thought process? We would all have to know that.
Yeah, like myself and Paul from the word go, like it was a race from the word go. Like I knew straight away this fella he was going for the win. Like I could tell within the first 2 or 3 kilometers, because at the start of that race there's like maybe, I don't know, like a 300-meter climb and it's runnable, but he was running up that fast and I was thinking, all right, I have to go with this guy because he looks he looks lean and he looks mean and he looks quick, and I don't know him that well, so I've got to go with him. I can't give him a gap. So I went with him. And we basically dogged it out for the guts of like 48K. We were neck and neck. He might have pulled away from me for 200 or 300 yards, and I just clawed him back. And then all of a sudden, I put 200 or 300 yards into him. But 90% of that race, we were side by side. And
Was there like what was making you sort of yo-yo with them? Was there aspects of the course that he was better and then you were better? How did that go?
Yeah, definitely. We'd say over the really boggy stuff, I was slightly better. Probably because I was just lighter, because I was watching him and he'd go into certain trails and tracks and his foot would almost go ankle deep, whereas mine wouldn't even break the surface, you know? So I was like going, well, I'm definitely a little bit lighter than him and I'm a little bit more, I don't know, light-footed as such. So I'm not sinking as much. So I was always able to put a little bit of time on him there. But anywhere then where it became runnable, and like going into this, I wasn't in 100% form. You know what I mean? I wasn't after doing a massive training block or anything like that. I was where I was. My fitness was what it was. So when we hit the roads or we hit anything that was runnable, he was able to move away from me pretty easy, like, you know, and then I would have to like surge to catch him. Now I would catch him, but I'd be burning matches catching him. And then we'd hit the bog again. And because I would have burnt a few matches trying to keep with him, I would struggle on those climbs just for a few minutes until I got my breath back, until I got maybe some calories in, and then I would catch up to him again. But then after a while in the bog, I started putting ground on him. And with about 10K left, I thought, I think I have this. I think I have it. I think I've broken him, you know, because I put a bit of a gap into him. But then with about 4K left, I just have a little glance back behind me and he's there. He's just there. Like, and like he made up some great ground. And then we got down there and I hadn't a clue where we were, right? So I didn't know if that race was 46K, 47K, or let's say 52K. I had no idea. Like it's a 50K, but you just have no idea. So I did not know the course. But when there was 2K left, we were again side by side. And we only spoke about 4 words between us the whole day. But he just said to me, we're not far from the finish, because he had reckied it. We spoke after he had reckied. He says, there's about 2K left. And I was like, okay. And then we were just looking at each other. And he
He
says,
was giving you he was offering an olive branch.
yeah. And he kind of said, there's 2K left. And he says, it's a bit technical. So if you feel like you want to go, just go, like, you know. And I just thought that was really, you know,
He
he was
guilted
sort
you.
of, yeah, he kind of, not, I don't know, was it guilted me, but I just thought that at the end of the day, I think We worked so hard together. We really did
No.
work so
Go
hard
back to
together.
telling the story. Don't interpret it. Go back to the story.
Yeah. Well, we say 2K left, and again, it was like, all right, there's 2K left. So we were moving now. We were moving at like 4-minute Ks coming down there. And then I thought it was going to get technical, and it did for a few seconds. And I had put a gap into him then. And I was thinking, I think I have this now. I think this is it. Because if I did create a gap, then I'm not going to wait for him. Like, that's not going to happen. But then this real mucky stuff came up again, just with about a kilometer to go, and it was just a swamp. And the two of us had then tied side by side again. It was a downhill, and it was a downhill through a bridge, and then the hall is on the right hand side. And it's not like, you see, we were quicker than everybody else all day. We were too quick for the aid stations. The aid stations weren't expecting us for half an hour. So we missed 2 aid stations because nothing was ready for us. And the finish line wasn't even ready for us. So when we finished, it was just a finish at a hall. And it was just like, that's it. It's done. And I might have been there about 3 seconds ahead of him. And that was it. It was still like, well, we're both here. We're both here at the same time. My toe might have been closer to the fucking hole than his toe. So it was like, it's a tie, man. That's a tie all day in my book. But because of those 3 seconds, I got to take the trophy home.
It sounds to me like Ricki Wynne won. Okay, yeah, good story. And for reference for the viewers and the listeners, that was 30 minutes under the push record. So maybe that's why the aid stations weren't ready for you.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I wanted, of course I wanted those goals. I had goals before the race, and one of them was win the race and the other one was break the course record. But I was thinking, if I could take 20 minutes or 15 minutes off that course record, I would have went away a happy man. But having Paul push me all day long got the max out of me on that day. So, you know what I mean? That's racing. And when you have somebody pushing you like that, it only makes you better.
Yeah, for sure. And was there any tactics with the bog? Reference on another question here from the viewers, as in, like, are you picking your feet? Are you just like sanding it over it? What's your mindset with that type of terrain?
My mindset throughout that whole race was on Paul, because I knew that Paul was strong. So it was always like, I didn't care what I was running on. I was just making sure that I was always there. And I was very aware of sort of like not pushing too hard too early on. So like I was thinking, I think that where my fitness was at, right? I was thinking, if I can just keep him here, not let him get away from me, and at 40K, maybe if I have something left in the tank, I just go. That's kind of the way I was thinking. But other than that, there was no real tactics involved. It's a 50K race. You just try and run it as fast as you can.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you? What were your tactics going into that?
I I didn't really have a tactic. My tactics were take the first hour kind of and ease into the race to make sure that it didn't flare up the quad issue. And then once it was basically an hour into the race, you're kind of climbing for an hour.
Yeah.
And then it was that boggy, undulating terrain. And then, so I got the confidence at that point to then push on. And I did take one piece of advice from you, because normally I would be thinking about heart rate and exertion and stuff like that. And I decided just to, because it was self-navigated, I just decided to put the map on the watch and just go by feel. And I kind of knew actually when I was burning some matches, but I mean, I wasn't burning matches and matches. Do you know what I mean? It was just like flexing up a little bit into the higher end of zone 3 or something on some parts of the climb, or maybe if I can see someone and I can see that I'm catching them well on a certain bit of ground, just push on a bit. But look, my tactics were to have a clean race, run steady, not get injured. So that worked out for me. Um, did you have any training that you did specifically for Dartmoor?
So where I live, so there's two places I train. I train in a place called Sligo, and that's really runnable trail, kind of like it's kind of like, let's say if I was training for a UTMB race or something and I wanted something runnable, slightly technical, that's where I'd be running, right? But I do always think that if I run on that for too long, I get soft, as in I kind of like, I get a bit soft, and I think I'm not having enough misery in my life or something like that. So what I do then is I go back to another training ground that is a swamp, and I was expecting Dartmoor to be like that, and I was saying, well, if I can train here and I can run fast in this swamp, it'll serve me well when I get to Dartmoor. But I underestimated how big of a swamp Dartmoor was. Like, it was so wet and it was so boggy and it was so energy zapping. That's what I found. It's like every time you put your foot in the ground, you had to work so hard to get it back up. Like, so it was just energy zapping. And it wasn't like I was blowing a gasket, but I'm telling you, there was times where there was foam coming out of my mouth, like, because I was pushing that hard, like, and that was sheerly because of the ground.
It didn't feel true boggy to me, though. It felt like it was wet ground. It felt like it was always off camber, and also like it was always bumpy ground. Like the ground had flattened over tussocks of grass, so it wasn't nice ground to run on. It was hard to get a rhythm,
Yeah,
and the only way you could get any sort of rhythm was to ignore what was under your foot and just create a rhythm.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, luckily we're well experienced and just feet in, get them wet, and get on with it. But I think you went into your waist at one point in bog.
I I actually got caught out so bad because there was a bubble. There was a proper bog hole there, and there was a bubble on the top of the bog hole. But whatever way, like my eyes were watering or something, and I didn't see it properly. And to me, I thought it was a rock
It was
or
the
a
foam
stone.
coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, something. And I thought, oh yeah, not so bad. I put my foot on that and just skip across, and I went straight in, waist deep, like waist deep, and then just had to drag myself out of it. Like, but luckily, like it didn't cost me anything, as in like Paul was still there by the time I got out, and believe me, I think he went into maybe 2 or 3 bog holes as well. So we were both having our fair share of hardship out there.
Yeah. Two last questions. We've run well over time, but I was enjoying that story about how your race unfolded, and it's about gear. Run us down what you wore, because you and Paul were both wearing the same Tecton X3, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
so
how did that perform? Like I thought that was crazy wearing that shoe for that race, but it won the race and it was second as well.
E- exactly, like, because the two of us were wearing it, right? So, and I'm not saying it was, yeah, the ideal shoe, because would say the bog, it's only a 4 mil lug, but for me, I'm used to running in that shoe on that kind of on shitty trails over here. So I had no falls. Apart from that, yeah, I stepped in a hole, but I had no falls. Where I think Paul had 4 or 5 slips where he had proper slips, kind of the legs went up, but he was able to recover from it. But where that shoe was really strong was on those. I know there was only 2 or maybe 3 runnable sections in it, but when you hit those runnable sections in that shoe, you can make up so much time. So like that's where like we ate into the course record too, I would imagine, because when we came out of the bog onto that runnable section where those wild horses were, it was almost like a single track,
I think they
loose
called it like
gravel.
carriage trail.
Yeah, like that was lovely. That was really nice. I think that was my favorite part of the whole race, because it just was really runnable. You had these wild horses on the left and the right hand side of you. It was super cool. You had the mist coming down on top of you. It looked like I felt like I was marching into Mordor or something like that. And at that time I was actually foaming at the mouth, trying to stay with Paul on that kind of terrain, because he was very fast over that. And then again, when we hit that road section, ideally it's not a nice road section because there's a lot of really steep downhill in it. But that's where the Tecton X3 is. Sure, it's like a super shoe for marathon running on that kind of road. Like, so So for me, that was only going to be the choice, because if I went with something like the Speed Goat, or if I went with something with the Zanal, that bog is so wet and so slippy. That extra mil in the lugs isn't going to make a difference. It's not going to make a difference, but it would have definitely made a difference on those runnable sections.
Especially with Paul wearing the X3 as well. Like if he had been running a Speed Goat, you would have mentally even felt like he's got an advantage.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What about you? What was I suppose we're going to get to that other questions next. But what was your race shoe for the day?
Well, yeah, this is the last question of the show. Yeah, I was getting a bit of stick because I put out my gear lay with the Norda 005, holding up for those here on the listening on the audio. And look, I ran a lot on this in Australia, in the 2 weeks prior to the race, and I actually wore down the front of these studs, and I just thought it was going to be a bad choice to then race in that shoe, because I thought grip was going to be the most important thing really. So I decided to go for the Prodigio Pro, and I don't know. I think it was the right choice. It certainly wasn't the perfect shoe, for that type of terrain, but it also maybe gives the feet a bit more protection. And with my foot injury from last year, I come out of it not injured. I've been fine all week. I've not had any issues with the foot, so I mean, it's hard to say I made the wrong choice if mission was accomplished as with the goals.
Yes, sounds to me like you made the right choice, And if you did feel that sort of like inkling of a lack of confidence in the grip, that would have been in your head all throughout the race, and that's when you fall, when you don't have that sure-footedness, when you don't have that confidence in the shoe. Like, and believe me, the 005 is a super shoe. Like, it's an incredible shoe, but I don't think you would have got what's special about that shoe. You wouldn't have got it out of it on that course. Like, you know what I mean? That's not for that course.
No, and those really fast sections that you were saying about, there would have been too much ground feel on that with my foot, but I'm trying to not feel as much ground. So look, I think it was the right choice. Wasn't the perfect shoe, the Prodigio Pro anyway, but look, I give it a good rattle, and that's also going to help for the Prodigio Pro review, which I'll be doing in March. Last thing before we close it out, this is Trail Talk Live every Friday night. It's normally 30 minutes. We're at 41 minutes now. Thanks for joining us. You can catch up on all the podcast players or on YouTube. This episode goes out the next morning, so subscribe and get your notifications in. Ricki, I got a couple of deliveries in from Norda this week, so look at this weapon.
Yeah.
The Ash 003. Isn't that a thing of beauty?
Yeah, the color of that is gorgeous. I seen your Instagram stories today. I was very jealous.
And then we've got I forget the name of this one, but again, it actually looks nicer in person than on screen. It kind of looks peachy yellowy or something, but look, it's absolutely sweet. And I also have a brand new pair of 005s coming, and they were meant to come today, but the UPS guy couldn't find the house, or I don't know what. But getting them, and the significances of that, tomorrow the embargo is lifted on 005 specs. So I've got a reel going out tomorrow morning. It's actually going out at midnight with all of the specs of the shoe, the just all of the stuff that we haven't been able to talk about, from stack height and weight and the types of foam and this type of stuff. So check out my Instagram reels tomorrow for more information on that. And Ricki, I think that's us for another week.
That's it, man. Yeah. Full show. Time flies.
Right, everyone. Have a great weekend. Ricki, have a great weekend, and I will see you soon. Peace.